Hey there, this is Perch. And question divs come up. Why didn't Shazam do better? And I think it's kind of an odd, well, I think it's an odd question. Here's why. First off, I think better in comparison to what? It's why didn't it do better than Avengers, than Captain Marvel, than what? It did not do as well as Man of Steel, but Man of Steel also was featuring Superman and was heavily hyped and had Zack Snyder, who was a draw at the time, and was even though they didn't really say it at the same time, they were pushing the this is the start of the cinematic universe. There was a Wayne satellite or something in there, and Marvel was going big with their cinematic universe. So it's like here's DC responding. So, I think in hindsight, we look at it and go, oh, Man of Steel is a disappointment compared to, $2.4 billion of Avengers or whatever, wherever that is. But um, no, and Shazam did fine. I think as a movie, as a character that not a lot of people know about, that has kind of a weird, not marketable name, that, for a few people, is Shaquille O'Neal. Is that right? Shaquille O'Neal? No, Steele. I don't remember. Wasn't there a? Never mind. Never mind. I'm confusing myself. Actually, I'm making my own point by being stupid. Anyway, it did fine. It what was Shazam was big for superhero movies, so it had a little bit more of a comedic take to it. It did not market itself as totally kid friendly, which in hindsight that was probably a bit of a mistake. It did feature kind of, I mean, it was big for superheroes, and that came across in the marketing. But then there was a slight vibe at the theater that maybe, the 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old crowd was that it was going to be scary for them, and I guess there was kind of some stuff in that third act that was a little bit alarming, and I think for kids. I mean, it's hard to say that because I remember going to see RoboCop as a kid, and some definite hard R movies. I mean, it's really peculiar. Now, there's a lot of angst about violence and sex and all the rest of this stuff in films, and people kind of forget, or I don't know, maybe they want to go back to the innocent times. Well, the innocent times of the '80s, like a PG-13 movie, could have boobs in it. I mean, it could. I grew up watching like Vacation and I said RoboCop and Gremlins and other things. I mean, Gremlins had people going into, or not people, but gremlins going into blenders and other things. Is jokey violence. RoboCop was jokey, hardcore violence, and yet that for some reason, like we're really worried about Call of Duty and video games. I don't know. There's something backwards about the way people look at violence and content now. Especially when I hear people saying things like, oh man, the movie industry's really gotten out of control and they're showing things that they never used to show. Like, well, I mean, quite the opposite. I don't know. It builds character. That's what I say. It builds character. But anyway, as Shazam as a film, I think it did fine. I think that for whatever reason, there are a bunch of people on the internet who thought that it was going to do better than Captain Marvel. That was always insane talk. It never was going to get there. Never even close was going to get there. I mean, Captain Marvel stood on the shoulders of like 20 odd movies before it and had the benefit of Marvel saying pretty blatantly, this character is going to be a big deal in the next Avengers movie, the big finale movie, the movie that's the most important movie of all the movies. And so, yeah, Captain Marvel is going to do well. I'll say again because I believe in standing by my good predictions and bad predictions. I still believe that the marketing for Captain Marvel was goofy to bad at times. And yes, it still made a lot of money. So clearly, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I think there are aspects of that marketing campaign that were just off, and it could have done better. And when I say marketing campaign, I'm talking about kind of the trailer and how it's constructed and how they decided to build the character and I think you do see some flaws in their marketing campaign based on kind of how some of the licenses have sold, the toys and everything else. And Captain Marvel has not been a big kind of attach seller. And what I mean by that is, the things that are attached to the movie, like the toys and the shirts and all the rest. It has not done as well as say Guardians of the Galaxy did or Black Panther did. It's stumbled a little bit there, and I think that the marketing has a lot to do with that. But it still made a lot of money. Nobody is crying a tear for Captain Marvel. But Shazam had it had I think a lot again. I think people set their expectations up that it was going to beat Marvel and it was going to do Aquaman like numbers, and Aquaman was not a fluke. But if you look at the setup for Aquaman, Aquaman had um, it had the benefit of the character appearing in Justice League, even though Justice League didn't do well. It had the benefit of people kind of saying, Wonder Woman they did right as a solo character, Aquaman they're going to do right as a solo. So it had a lot of good buzz going in. Jason Momoa, is that how you do it? It's weird that character, that actor is a seller. People like there's some kind of natural charm, and people like that character. And it's funny because that was one season on Game of Thrones, folks. That's it, just one. And he is probably one of the most fondly remembered characters on that show. But old Carl Drago. Yeah. See, I mess up names for both real people and fictional people. It's one of my gifts. Anyway, Shazam was not that. I mean, it was Chuck and or Flynn Rider, depending on which direction you want to go there. And it was a kind of, it's not goofy concept, but slightly silly premise, and it was played for some laughs. The other problem is like, and again, it's almost a marketing issue again. The trailers kind of went to the same jokes, and there's a little bit of a vibe that Shazam put off there, which was you're seeing all the good stuff in the trailer. I remember multiple customers and people saying that, like, okay, I've seen he stops bullets, and then he's getting some beer, and he's charging up phones with his lightning powers, and it's like multiple trailers are using the same scenes, and it's funny because it's kind of an unfair comment. I mean, people don't want to have the movie spoiled in the trailer. They don't want to see a lot of scenes. But then if the trailer is minimal with the scenes and just shows like a couple bits, then suddenly it's this trailer's repetitive. The movie's going to suck. It's kind of a you lose either way. One of the things I've always thought would be really smart, especially for a big budget type film, is just film new scenes for the trailer. Just go out there and film kind of some little bit that's not going to be in the movie, and just it has to look cool and do cool stuff, but just film something new, and maybe even say, I don't know, you could frame it in such a way. What am I'm not giving, shoot, I'm giving too many ideas. So I think Captain Marvel did fine. Is a Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel definitely did fine. Shazam did fine too. It was, will it get a sequel? Probably not. Maybe. I mean, if DC's smart, they would. Because if you look a lot of, the first Thor, the first Captain America, some of these films, they became franchises because there was this feeling like Disney and Marvel were standing behind these movies, and they make, a couple $100 million, and it's like we're going to give you a second one. Maybe we made a. I mean, Shazam was profitable, quite profitable for Time Warner, AT&T. Who's the company that makes this now? Jesus, it's a convoluted mess of corporations. But it was a profitable film. It's not going to be Avengers in-game profitable, but if your goal is to be Avengers in-game profitable, well, there's only one way to do that, and that way is to stick it out. You got to keep at it. You got to keep pumping those movies out. You got to send the message to viewers that watching all these movies is a good idea because it matters. And if you put out one movie and say, well, I mean, this didn't make Aquaman numbers, it only made like 350 odd $1 million, then you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to lose that trust and that confidence from fans, and be done. So there you go. That's what I think. What do you think? Did you love Shazam? I thought Shazam was fine. It was a good movie. It wasn't the best movie, but it's solid. It was entertaining. I'll get beat up for saying it or not. I don't know, but I like Shazam better than Captain Marvel. I thought it had a more unique twist. I like some of the Marvel movies. I did like Endgame quite a lot. I thought it was wonderful and delivered on things as I reviewed it. But at the same time, a lot of Marvel movies have a formula that you can smell going in, and you can kind of see the story beats as they go down. So I like Captain Marvel, or I like Shazam. It had some new stuff to it. I thought new is good. Appreciated it. I like that whole dynamic. Why not? What do you think? Leave some comments, like, subscribe, notify. Bell's social media, Comic Perch, Twitter, check to see if you're still subscribed. Blah, blah, blah. Thanks for listening.